أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم وعلى آله أصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. Thank you very much for all of you joining today. Hope you will benefit from this beautiful webinar on Waqf. For this special topic, we have invited Dr. Abdullah. He is a reputed Sharia scholar and established researcher. He enjoys a blend academic and professional experience in Islamic finance, Sharia advisory, Sharia training, Islamic social finance. He is an expert in Waqf studies. Dr. Abdullah is a certified Sharia advisor and auditor, CSAA from IOFI. Dr. Abdullah has produced a number of research papers on different aspects of Islamic finance and Islamic endowment in Waqf studies. He has presented his paper in different international conferences across American, European, and Asian countries. Dr. Abdullah is reviewer of policy, research paper, and a number of other international academic journals. He's a member of editorial advisory board for Sola Journal of Interest Free Microfinance, and he sits at the advisory board as well. His area of interest, mashallah, I can see Sharia advisory, Waqf and Fiqh al-Waqf, Sukuk structuring, Sharia governance, Islamic social finance, Takaful and Takaful. Mashallah. With this, I am very glad to invite him and to start the session for today.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Brother Ahsan, and I'm really very grateful to Taif Institute for inviting me to speak on this topic. I have actually developed my interest in Islamic, in Waqf since 2011. I was doing my master's in the UK, and then I came across this Waqf institutions socioeconomic contribution. Then actually I developed my interest, and I did my master's dissertation on Waqf. And later on, I was fortunate enough to get sponsorship from Islamic Development Bank, Jeddah, to continue my doctoral research in Waqf studies from the UK. So alhamdulillah, it's been a very smooth journey, and my involvement in Waqf studies have been almost for 1 decade. So I'm very thankful to the Taif Institute for inviting me for this webinar. And I can see that, mashallah, I was just informed that almost 280 people registered for this webinar, which shows how much interest the community now have in Waqf and in understanding this excellent Islamic socioeconomic institution. I remember that in 2015, while I was doing I was in the final stages of my PhD in the UK, and I was participating in a doctoral research seminar in Oslo, at the University of Oslo. And when I presented my research topic on Waqf, so the professor who was appointed to provide his feedback on my presentation, he noted that, okay, this is an excellent institution, and it has a great contribution to the socioeconomic development of Muslim, particularly communities in Muslim areas. So why there is no interest in present in this institution? So I said that it is not that there is no interest in this institution. Rather, the interest is very much limited to the academic, corridors. So we need to raise awareness on the basics of Waqf and on the significance and importance of this institution and how this is very critical to the development of the Ummah and its institutions. Since then, I started actually, whenever I do a presentation on Waqf, I start with the question from the audience that how many of you consider that you have ever benefited from a Waqf? And in general, the response that I receive from the audience shows that how much we benefit from the Waqf, but we don't notice it. So I asked this question that if you consider that you have never benefited from a Waqf, then reconsider your thinking, your understanding. So have you ever performed a salah in a masjid? Have you prayed in a masjid, or have you used a copy of Quran from a masjid to recite verses? And if yes, then it means you have benefited from a Waqf. A masjid by default is a case of Waqf, and a copy of Quran or anything that has been actually donated to a masjid becomes part of a Waqf. So in general, we benefit from this institution, but at times we don't realize it. So today's topic of webinar, I chose to say that, okay, let me just discuss on the basics of Waqf, because I have noticed that based on my discussion with different stakeholders, at times we miss or the essence of Waqf, why, how, where, and for what purpose this institution came into being. Um, uh, and also the issue is that at times once the masses are very much lacking the interest in any institution, then the destiny of that institution is not very glorious. So that's why I will just go through the basics of fundamentals of Waqf. And as I noted earlier, that okay, uh, the masjid and madrasa and graveyards, all these are the instances of Waqf, but Waqf is not limited to only these aspects only. Waqf has different and vibrant actually dimensions. Waqf in the literature in the West particularly, this institution has been treated from a religious perspective, from a socioeconomic aspect, the dimension of its political and socio-religious, spiritual, and different other aspects have been treated in the literature. And this institution has also been treated in the literature based on for the purpose of state planning, wealth management, and these are the secondary aspects of Waqf. But broadly, this is a comprehensive socio-economic, socio-religious institution. So we will just go through the basics of Waqf, and then we see its past and the present and the future, and what contribution we can make in terms of developing this institution. So Waqf, in terms of an overview, we must notice that any Muslim society cannot do away with the institution of Waqf. It means that the institution of Waqf is an inseparable part and parcel of any Muslim society. Because if a society is established, they will need basically from a religious perspective, a mosque, a masjid, and that will be a case of Waqf. They will need a graveyard, that will be case of Waqf. They will need some Islamic seminaries and Islamic madrasa system, that will be a case of Waqf. But broadly, Waqf has been used in the history to each and every aspect of human life, which is not in contradiction with the principles of Sharia. So anything can be covered under the gracious wings of Waqf. And that is why this researcher, Peter Hennigan, in his book, The Birth of a Legal Institution, he has noted, he has started actually his book, he did his PhD from a US university in 80s. So he has noted that it is not an exaggeration claim that Waqf has provided the foundation for much of what is considered as Islamic civilization. So the edifice or premises of Islamic civilization and the glorious history of Islamic communities and societies that we have today uh, are built on on the fundings and allocations received from Waqf. So what is Waqf, and how it came to be known in the Islamic history, and how it was actually taken so seriously. So we will discuss this in the coming slides. So commonly we use the term waqf, and the plural is awqaf, the Arabic term. But and other words, habs and hus and sadaqa jariyah is the concept, the conceptual premises on which the concept of waqf is based. But interestingly, the term waqf has not been used in the Quran, and also it has not been used in ahadith literature, waqf or awqaf. The common word for to represent what we understand as waqf has been used in the prophetic hadith is habs, and this term actually is still in common use in North African countries. So habs is something that is used frequently in prophetic ahadith, and waqf is a representative term which developed later on in the jurisprudence in the fiqh al-awqaf because of the understanding of the scholars. But the concept of waqf or habs is based on the concept of sadaqah jariyah. So how it all evolved, or how the concept of waqf evolved in the early Islamic society, and what is different about waqf. Why waqf is different from a common sadaqah. In general, we understand that there are different verses of Quran and prophetic ahadith which actually exhort believers to continue spending in the pious purposes, pious causes, charitable causes. So what is different about Waqf? Why this institution was able to play the role that it played in the Islamic history? So in terms of its conceptual origin, in an implicit way, we can find different verses of Quran which imply on spending. So the first verse that I have quoted here is from Surah Al-Imran, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ, which means that you cannot attain piety unless you spend in the way of Allah the things that are most beloved to you. But there is no explicit indication of waqf or anything from this verse. But this verse is in general referred to discuss the topic of waqf, because this verse has its own context and a story, which I will discuss later on in the slides, inshallah. But there are other verses of Quran which exhort Muslims to spend in the way of Allah. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. So this is one of the signs of the muttaqin, the pious people, that they spend whatever Allah has bestowed on them. And similarly, different verses, أَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, O you who believe, spend in the way of Allah from what we have bestowed upon you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving these instructions. And also وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا, different verses. But the conceptual framework of waqf actually originated from a prophetic hadith. which has something explicit about about continuous charity, which is being represented by waqf. So the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith says, "There's إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له." So in this hadith, Prophet ﷺ says that once a person dies, his chapter of good deeds is closed. So he cannot continue earning any reward except in three cases. So if he has established a continuous charity, a recurring charity, then this charity will benefit a person even after his demise. So the person is dead now, but his charity that he established during his lifetime will be earning him reward. And the second instance is if he has left behind himself a legacy of knowledge that is benefiting the people, or if he has nurtured a soleh and pious progeny, and they are making dua for him, then this will. So this verse is actually the fundamental basis. This hadith is the fundamental basis for development of waqf. And based on this hadith wording, sadaqah jariyah, then it came to mind of the people, okay, what is sadaqah jariyah? How we can participate in establishing a sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity. And it is very common to understand that if we do sadaqah, so it will not become a sadaqah jariyah, the common sadaqah, where we pay specific amount of money to a poor person and he spends it. So this is one-time sadaqah. How this can become a sadaqah jariyah? So based on this hadith, actually, uh, the scholars, they started uh, inferring what is sadaqah jariyah and how it fits in the whole picture of broader picture of sadaqat, charities endorsed by Sharia. So in this diagram, actually, I'm trying to depict the real status of and real place of waqf. Where does it fit? So the the charity in general, in Quranic verses, we can find for charity the term infaq has been used as a broader concept. So infaq is repeatedly used in Quranic verses. Do spending in the pious causes for charitable purposes in the way of Allah. And then from infaq, a narrower concept came in, which is sadaqah. So from infaq, we narrow down, we reach to sadaqah, and then the sadaqah is actually in the in the context of prophetic ahadith, we can find that there are various forms of sadaqah. A sadaqah can be material, monetary. So we use some money or some subject matter, some item uh, to do a charity. So this can be a charity, a form of charity. Another form of charity is non-monetary, intellectual. So, for example, Prophet ﷺ says that if you guide someone to the right path, this is a form of charity. Amruka bil ma'ruf, sadaqa lak. Intellectual, if you advise people for the righteous path, so this is also kind of form of sadaqah, charities, that is non-monetary or intellectual. Then once we come to material or monetary form of charity, then we classify this into two. In Quranic usage, there are obligatory sadaqah and non-obligatory. Obligatory is sadaqat wajiba. So for example, zakat, sadaqatul fitr. These are sadaqat wajiba, which is obligatory for those who qualify for the threshold. So this is sadaqah wajiba. And then second form is sadaqah nafila, which is non-obligatory. Anyone can do whenever he feels so and participate in the reward program by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in the non-obligatory sadaqah, we categorize into two. One is absolute sadaqah, another one is non-absolute sadaqah. Absolute is the one where the donor is transferring the ownership of the subject matter to the recipient. So the beneficiary will become full owner of that sadaqah, and he can use in whatsoever manner he wants to do. So this absolute sadaqah, the example of this absolute non-obligatory sadaqah is once we help any poor person with some money, we dole out, we give him, and immediately at the same moment, the ownership of that money or subject matter transfers from the giver to the recipient to the receiver. Other than this, compared to this absolute sadaqah, there is another form of sadaqah which is non-absolute, which means in this category falls ariya, maniha, qard hasan. Ariya is something like, for example, someone needs something for a time being, for a while, and I allow him to use. For example, someone needs my car for 2 days, 3 days, or someone needs my pen or my laptop. So I say, okay, you use it, and after 2, 3 days, the same thing you have to return this. This is non-absolute sadaqah. Why? The ownership is not being transferred. Another form of uh, non-absolute sadaqah is qard al-hasan, where the ownership is transferred, but the recipient is liable to repay similar value after the at the maturity. So this is non-absolute because the ownership is transferred, but the recipient will have to return it back. But this will be categorized into a sadaqah because Qardul Hasan is interest-free loan, and the giver is actually helping and helping the receiver, and this help is classified as a form of sadaqah, and the giver will get reward for each passing day till the Qardul Hasan matures. In this non-absolute sadaqah, there comes this waqf, where this will have its own distinction. The sadaqah is non-absolute waqf. The sadaqah is actually non-obligatory, sadaqah nafila, non-absolute, and then this will imply suspension of ownership. So neither the giver nor the receiver will remain the owner of subject matter. As per the classical fuqaha, the ownership of a waqf will transfer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. According to other fuqaha, this ownership of subject matter will actually will be suspended and remain so. No one will be honored. Why we need this suspension of ownership? Because if the subject matter of a sadaqah is owned by someone, either it is owned by giver or owned by receiver. So the implication of this sadaqah will be that once the person dies, this will become part of the warasa, and his progeny or his heirs actually will be entitled to distribute this. But the waqf has to be a continuous sadaqah. So the ownership of this institution cannot be transferred, neither it can be sold or gifted. لا تشترى ولا توهب ولا تورث. So this sadaqah can neither be inherited nor be sold or gifted, because the objective of this form of sadaqah is that this will provide a continuous charity, continuous support, and this continuity of charity from this sadaqah will actually enable the giver, the endower or waqif, to receive spiritual reward, the ajr or thawab. So this is how the concept of waqf fits in whole of the broader picture of sadaqat endorsed by Sharia. So from where this understanding came that, okay, if a sadaqah is endowed as a waqf, then the ownership of that sadaqah will be suspended. So from where the scholars receive this understanding. So for this, there is one hadith, a story of Umar radiallahu anh, which has been quoted by Siha Sitta, all six major authentic books of hadith. This story has been narrated with different wordings. And in this is actually this hadith, and the story of this hadith is actually the axis, the basis on which the concept of sadaqah, waqf, is based, and on which the concept of waqf was further developed by later on jurists. So what is the story? The story is Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, who is son of second caliph Umar radiallahu anh. He says that Umar radiallahu anh received a great piece of land in Khaybar, and he approached to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked, "O Prophet, I have received a beautiful piece of land, and it is very nice and it is very dear to me. And I want your advice on how I use this piece of land in the best possible manner so that I can get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." On this, the Prophet ﷺ said, "In shi'ta habbasta asulaha wa thammir manfa'ataha aw tasaddaqta biha." So different wordings are used in different books of hadith in Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmizi, and Abu Dawud. So Prophet ﷺ said that, Umar, if you want, if you wish, you can suspend the ownership of this property and make actually sadaqah of its revenues. So the suspension of ownership, habbasta means that if you want, you can retain the ownership, and then you make the sadaqah of its revenues, its benefits. And then Umar radiallahu anh made so later on, and he appointed actually his daughter as Hafsa radiallahu anha as the manager of this work later on, and he prepared a waqf deed in actually in the presence of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and he wrote in that, this is sadaqah mu'abbada la tushtara wa la tuhab wa la turas, that this sadaqah will not be, this is a continuous sadaqah forever, and the land will not be, this sadaqah will not be sold and cannot be gifted or cannot be or be inherited. So he actually nominated the poor, pauper, and the wayfarer and the guest, all these all these categories as beneficiaries of this work. So this hadith is actually the basis for development of further work related rulings by the jurist in Sharia. So based on this hadith, the scholars actually derive further rulings that, okay, what are the key aspects of waqf? Why a waqf is different from other forms of sadaqah? So I have just prepared a short list that, okay, in waqf, there is a surrender of ownership by the giver, by the endower or waqif, but no transfer to beneficiary. So beneficiary is not owner of the sadaqah. Beneficiary will be just the beneficial owner, or will be getting the reward, the revenues, whatever the property is generating. And also the second thing is applicable only non-consumable items. A waqf can be applied in a non-consumable items. It means food or some other things that can be consumed immediately by the receiver cannot be the subject matter of a waqf. Can be deployed for Sharia compliant purposes only. This is also one of the key requirements of a waqf, that the subject matter cannot be used in a Sharia non-compliant way. Either it is stipulated by waqif or endower or not. Similarly, centrality of waqif stipulation. So in waqf, the endower has much more authority on his waqf compared to other forms of sadaqah. In other forms of sadaqah, once the endower endows or the donor gives his sadaqah, immediately the ownership of that sadaqah will transfer from the giver to the recipient, and the recipient is free to use in whatever manner he wants to use. But in waqf, the waqif has this authority to actually stipulate who will be getting benefited from this waqf, who will be managing, who will get what allocation, what portion of work revenues, in what way this work should be managed. So even if Waqif is no longer there, if Waqif or the endower is dead, still his stipulation will be applied and will be honored and adhered to, uh, uh, unless and until the objectives for which the work was created becomes becomes no longer to be followed. And one of the key aspect and salient features of waqf is that compared to other forms of sadaqah, where only poor people can get benefit, waqf can benefit a poor or rich. Even donor himself can appoint himself as one of the beneficiaries of waqf. Muslim, non-Muslim, any purpose, person, but with the condition that the purposes should be Sharia compliant. So this is one of the key features of waqf, that even rich people can benefit from waqf, and possibility of benefiting blood relatives and future progeny. So the waqif can make a waqf for the benefit of his blood relatives and future progeny. But the automate the condition is that once the nominated beneficiaries are no longer there, then the waqf will automatically reverse to charitable causes. So the poor and charitable purposes will become automatic beneficiary of a waqf if the specifically nominated recipients of or beneficiaries of waqf are instinct. So in this way, actually, the community itself is always uh, in one way the owner of the work property, because even be it a work for charitable causes or for nominated beneficiaries, at the end it must return to the charitable causes and the poor people. So in terms of early waqfs in Islamic history, we have several instances and several cases of awqaf, and particularly those who may be interested for further deep research on waqf and waqf of the companions of the Prophet, the Sahaba and Tabi'een. So I would just recommend to go through two very important books. These are in Arabic. One is Ahkamul Awqaf by Imam Abu Bakr Khassaf. This is an excellent book, almost containing 400 pages. And another book is Ahkamul Waqf by Imam Hilal al-Rai. So both these two scholars are of 7th and 8th century scholars. 8th century scholars. They establish, I mean, monumental books actually on. They produce these two books on containing all the awqaf created by the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. So in the Islamic history, we find that what are the instances of waqf? So land of Masjid al-Nabawi. We know that the land on which the Masjid al-Nabawi was established was owned by two orphan brothers, Sahel and Suhail, and this land was used on the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ, to build the mosque. And then we have among the famous awqaf of early Islamic history, well of Ruma, Bir Ruma. So waqf was created by Usman radiallahu anh, the third caliph. And the context of this waqf was that when the Prophet ﷺ migrated from Makkah to Medina, and there was a scarcity of drinking water, and there was one well which was owned by someone who used to sell the water from this well. Then Prophet ﷺ instructed Usman radiallahu anh to purchase this and make it free for public utility, and against this the Prophet ﷺ promised him the Jannah. So he did, and Bir Ruma, this is one of the most famous awqaf of early Islamic history. Then orchard of Abu Talha. Abu Talha Ansari radiallahu anh, he is a companion when the verse that I earlier mentioned was revealed, لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون, that you cannot attain piety unless you spend in the way of Allah, whatever is the most beloved to you. Then Abu Talha Ansari radiallahu anh, he was owning a very famous orchard in Medina named Bayruha. So he came to Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet, I want to do this orchard as sadaqah. Then Prophet ﷺ instructed him to do for the benefit of his poor relatives. And one of the relatives of him was Hassan bin Sabit radiallahu anh and other companions. And then Waqf of Umar radiallahu anh in Khaybar, this is very famous, particularly in terms of jurisprudential ruling. The fiqh al-awqaf was developed, but the, the critical to fiqh al-awqaf is this hadith of story of Umar radiallahu anh, where Prophet ﷺ is saying, in shita habbasta aslaha, wasamir manfa'ataha, sadaqa mu'abbada la tushtara wa la tuhab wa la turas. So this whole story actually provided the basis for development of fiqh al-awqaf. And then another waqf which is generally not mentioned in presentations or discussions, 7 orchards of Mukhayriq. So Mukhayriq was a Jew companion of the Prophet ﷺ. He used to be with the Prophet, and he participated in a battle, and he was having 7 orchards. Then he actually delegated this authority to Prophet ﷺ that if I am no longer there, then Prophet, you can use this 7 orchards as you wish. Then the Prophet ﷺ made waqf of this 7 orchards. This is also one of the earliest awqaf of Islamic history, and even some scholars have actually given this reference that how the concept of waqf developed in the Islamic history and coming from this Jew brother. Waqf of Mus'hab by Hafsa, she did waqf of her Mus'haf. And then Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anh, he did shield, he made hafs of his shield. And then Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he made waqf of his house in actually in Medina, and he made the beneficiary of his house those of his relatives who will be widowed or divorced, or those women who will not have anything, any house to live in, then they can use this. And then the awqaf of different companions of the Prophet. So as I mentioned, the names of 2 books, Ahkamul Awqaf by Imam Abu Bakr al-Khassab. This book, several 400 pages books in Arabic, actually contains the list of the companions who made waqf and in what terms, and for whom, and how. And then there is a very famous statement of another companion of the Prophet, Jabir radiallahu anh. He says actually that I don't know any of the companions of the Prophet who could have afforded to make a waqf but did not. It means that every companion, every sahabi, whosoever afforded to make a waqf, he made waqf, be it a mushaf, waqf of mushaf, or shield, or home, whatsoever. So in this way, the companions actually started this momentum to establish waqf, non-obligatory sadaqah, and forever. So this momentum continued even in the time of the tabi'in, after the companions. So everywhere, people who had this affordability, who had privilege to make any waqf, they made waqf. And so much so that the researchers, they were compelled to note this, that by 10th century, waqf had superseded zakat as the primary wealth redistributive institution in Muslim societies. It means zakat, which is obligatory sadaqah, the sadaqah wajiba, it was overtaken by sadaqah nafila, because the people and the Muslims in those days were so much inspired to participate in this continuous charity, that they established sadaqah nafila, non-obligatory sadaqah. And this non-obligatory sadaqah had much more impact on the society than the obligatory sadaqah, zakah. So there was much more motivation to participate. And then Waqf provided the premises for an inclusive development and covered all aspects of life. So for every aspect of life, I will discuss later on in the next slide, inshallah, about how Waqf was very, very comprehensive, very inclusive institution to provide for anyone who had no one to support, was being supported by Waqf institution. So in one way, the classical Waqf institution actually played the role of a comprehensive insurance. And this insurance was without any premium. This insurance was actually to cover the life, the property, for everything. So even those who did not have anything to eat. For them, some people establish a mat'am, the restaurant, the food center, the kitchens, that, okay, this kitchen is established and the food will be served here to those who don't have anything to purchase the food. So this is how work actually played its role in the socio-economic development of the societies, and in particularly in the establishment of the Islamic civilization. And this momentum actually continued during the Ottoman era, and there came a time when the researchers noted, thanks to the works that flourished during the Ottoman Empire, a person would have been born into a work house, slept in a work cradle, eaten and drunk from work properties, read work books, been taught in a work school, received his salary from a work administration, and when he died, placed in a work coffin and buried in a work cemetery. So this statement actually shows the comprehensive nature of work, and how the glorious and the gracious coverage of Waqf was providing for everyone, and for every purpose which can be actually which can be something to benefit the community or the ummah. So the key areas of work benefits allocation in the classical literature, if we go through for what purposes the most of the awqaf were established. So, of course, in terms of religious dimension, most of the awqafs were established for mosque, masjid development, and the graveyard, and then universities, colleges, libraries, madrasas, learning centers. This is one of the most frequent recipient of the Waqf benefits. And that's why we see that in the Islamic history, the first university, which is still in Tunisia, the Zaytuna University, was established in 8th or 9th century, and then Jamia al-Azhar in Misr, in Egypt, we find that this is based on Waqf. And based on this concept, actually, once the universities and the madrasa system, whole madrasa system was established based on Waqf. And in the Europe, actually, the people were not aware of anything like Waqf or the university even. So the first university in the Europe was established actually in the form of a college, which is the Merton College at the Oxford University. And it was established 1164. 1164, this was the time when the Crusaders actually came from Europe to the Palestine. And this witness here in the Palestine that, okay, the economy is very vibrant. There are so many institutions running, functioning, providing its services free of cost. Then they inquired who provide the funding for this madrasa system, these universities, these colleges, this road system, this matam, kitchen, all these. And they came to know from their inquiry that these are all funded on the basis of a charitable trust, endowments, or continuous charity, which is work. And then the Crusaders, when they returned back to Europe, and they established on the same line some trust, charitable trust. And based on that, the De Merton College of Oxford University was established 1164, after almost 200 years of establishment of Jamia al-Azhar, which is the one of the earliest universities of Islamic of the history, and the Tunisia Zaytuna University. And if we compare the Oxford, I would just recommend those participants who are really interested in looking at the similarities and the influence of work system on the development of English trust. They need to go through actually this De Merton College Oxford's trust deed. This trust deed has been, it is public, it is available on Google. De Merton College, Oxford University's trustees. It contains different provisions and clauses, and this is very much similar to the waqfiyah that has been provided by Imam al-Shafi'i in his Kitab al-Umm. So Kitab al-Umm has provided a sample waqfiyah, how the waqf deed should be created. And if we compare with the trust deed of De Merton College of University, we will find so many similarities, how the development of English trust or charitable trust, or all the university system in the Europe and the USA now is based on the concept which is very much similar to Waqf, and Waqf has influenced development of these institutions. Similarly, we find that in the Middle East, hospitals, clinic, medical centers, these were free of cost in the early Islamic history based on Waqf. And then homes for homeless, shelter for travelers, inns, kitchens, and the provisions for food, poor, widow, divorcee. So there was a comprehensive insurance coverage uh, on a non-commercial basis actually through Waqf. So everyone was getting benefited, even the animals. Water supply for passers-by, wells in desert for animals. Some people even, they were much more kind to go, and they actually they ensured that there is a well in the desert so that the animals that desert can come and drink water. So this is the this shows actually the comprehensive nature of Waqf, and then roads and lightning and canal, all these. So now we see we come to actually comparison between the classical and contemporary awqaf. So earlier, most of the awqaf were in the nature of immovable property. So orchard, the land, the farmland, the well, all these were the subject matter of awqaf. So people used to use these. And most of the awqaf in the classical literature were perpetual, irrevocable, inalienable, means the sadaqa mu'abbada. So once you created this work, it is always work. But now contemporary scholars, they have allowed even temporary work. If someone cannot do a permanent work, he can do a temporary work for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And during this period, he will get the reward. And if even they allowed liquidity of for liquidity, means it does not necessarily need to be something immovable or illiquid. So liquidity is, you can just make a waqf of cash or waqf of a share or sukuk. Usufructory rights as well can be made waqf. The subject matter of waqf, it means that even if you are a lessee, you have lease and a property for 5 years, then you can make for 5 years this temporary work of usufructory rights, because you have this right for 5 years. So this has been actually allowed by the contemporary scholars, so that the people who want to contribute or participate in work can participate. In the contemporary time, the current scenario, there are different forms of work. The essence is the same, the format and the mode of awqaf at times is different, and there is much more confusion. At times people are confused, what is this cash work? It is nothing but the work that has been made in cash. For example, you use cash to make a work, this is cash work, because you use the subject matter cash. Corporate work, this is very a term which has not been defined in the literature now. The corporate work imply on two aspects. Either a corporate is making a work, or a corporate is made to manage a work. So in these two scenarios, corporate work comes into being. So people are at times confused, what is this cash work, corporate work, work of usufructory rights. Of course, if you have usufructory rights, like here, in some countries, 10 years, 30 years, musataha right, you can make work of that for time being. Intellectual property rights, you have written a book and you want to make it free for public usage, so make it public intellectual right, and you endow your right and entitlement to receive any benefits for the purpose of free public utility. This will become intellectual right. Work share and work off shares. These are the terms that are generally used, and people get confused. What is share? Work share? Work off share? Work share is, for example, if a charity organization is working on a specific project, and and the charity organization requests for the donation, and says, okay, you take a share in this project, in the completion of this project. So you take a share, that will become a waqf share. And waqf off share is you have purchased a share in some listed company, and you want that, okay, the dividends from this share should go for charitable causes, and you make Waqf of shares, Waqf sukuk, Waqf of sukusim, mobile Waqf, using the mobile, you make Waqf. And then we come to the categorization of Waqf. So categorization of Waqf is made by the scholars based on the purpose of a Waqf. If a Waqf is for charitable purpose, religious purpose, then it will fall under Waqf Khairi or Waqf Dini. So for religious purpose, Waqf Khairi. If the Waqf was created basically to actually benefit the family members or nominated beneficiaries or progeny of the endower, a specific individual, this will become waqf ahli or waqf zurri. And then if a waqf contains both the provisions, okay, it will help the charitable causes for 50% of the revenues. From the other 50% of revenues, the family members of the endower will get benefited. Then it will become waqf mushtarak, which is a mix of charitable and non-charitable. And then waqf ala nafs, if the endower says, okay, till I am alive, I will benefit from my waqf. After my demise, this waqf revenues will be diverted to the Islam, to the charitable causes. So what is the current status of waqf? There is non-availability of exact data, but as per some estimation, the current market value of global awqaf is much more than $1 trillion. And major chunk of global awqaf are dilapidated and in disarray, so they are misused or in disuse, or are not generating enough sufficient revenues to actually to make a sense in this era. Some awqaf need redefining their objectives. Some awqaf actually were created 100 years ago, 200 years ago. They are still there, but their objectives were are no longer there. Then these need actually redefinition. Lack of awareness among masses and community disconnect. This is one of the challenges, that the community and the masses, they are completely unaware of what is a waqf, how it functions, what is its role, and what it can do for the whole of the ummah and the humanity, actually, in terms of supporting and socioeconomic development in future. So this is one of the key areas where we need to work to raise awareness through ulama, through Juma Friday sermons and khutbah, because most of the discussion these days is very much limited to the academia and the universities. Lack of accountability of awqaf mutawallis, this is one of the reasons. And now coming to awqaf allocation for present and for future. So if we see that the maqasid oriented hierarchy approach, it says that, okay, first zaruriyat needs to be fulfilled, and then hajiyat, necessities, needs, and luxuries. So for example, if waqf has been established for establishing a masjid, and then uh, another waqf is established to beautify this masjid or decorate this further or to further add on this. So we, as a waqif, we need to understand the maqasid of waqf, objectives of waqf in the context of maqasid al-Sharia. Whether we need to, for example, in an in a locality, in an area where there are already 2 3 masajid which are fulfilling the need of the community, is there a need to establish another masjid to earn reward, or can there be something else that will help the society, the locality? For example, it is very common in particularly in India, that if someone dies, so his heirs will come and they will uh, make a few copies of Quran as waqf and keep it in the masjid. But of course, if in a masjid where already there are hundreds of Quran copies and there are only 10 people who recite this, so adding a copy of Quran at that moment will not fulfill the maqasid. At that moment, if there is something, I mean, some other areas where people are dying due to starvation, some people are not getting enough resources to get educated or to get some books, or some kids are orphaned and they need someone to take care of them. So these we need to understand actually whether we are applying the awqaf in compliance with the maqasid theme, or it is something that we are just making a waqf swayed by whim. At times we become emotional We listen one taqreer, a waz, one khutbah, and we immediately think, okay, we need to make waqf. Immediately we make waqf without considering the sustainability of this waqf. For example, if a property was made a waqf without considering how this will be self-sustainable, then it means after 20 years, 30 years, if it is not going to be sustainable, it will become a burden on the community, because it cannot be sold and it cannot be further developed by, because there is a lack of fund. So ensuring non-wastage of work resources is one of the critical thing that the stakeholders of Awqaf need to think about. Positive contribution versus negative impacts. So at times, if one area of charity is being actually supported by different awqaf and other areas are left, then it will distort the equilibrium of the society and the balance of the society, and it will cause it will have some negative impacts. So we need to understand this as a stakeholder of waqf. And then consultative mechanism in establishing waqf is a critical point, and this is a prophetic tradition. What does it mean? It means that if we go through the early awqaf of Islamic history, be it Masjid Nabawi, Well of Ruma, Orchard of Abu Talha, Umar radiallahu anh, Mukhairik, in these waqf, one thing is common, that either it was established on the instruction of the Prophet himself to fulfill an immediate need of the community, like masjid was needed in the time of the Prophet's migration. So a masjid was established. This work was established based on the instruction of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well of Ruma, it was established by Usman radiallahu anh based on the instruction of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It means that there was an immediate need of to the community, and this well of Ruma was established as a waqf, and it fulfilled the need of the community at that time. So there was prophetic instruction. Authored of Abu Talha and Umar radiallahu anh, both these two cases, we see that these two companions came to the Prophet asking his consultation, his advice, how best we use this so that we can get reward. And in Mukhairik case, he delegated this authority. So from these instances, we get one thing very clear, that even today, to actually increase the benefit, to maximize the benefits of awqaf, if a waqf is going to be established, there must be a consultation mechanism from the Ahlul Rai wa Taqwa. It means those people who have knowledge and are pious, knowledge and piety. So we need to actually discuss with them, discuss with the community before establishing a new waqf, that in what way we can make the benefits of this work increase. So based on these prophetic traditions, we find the Prophet instructed at times Prophet was consulted, at times Prophet was delegated the authority. So in this way, the Waqf actually played the role that it played, and it created huge impact in the Muslim societies. So now we come to this, that the institution of Waqf as a summary has a glorious history. As we discussed, it has a glorious history, a turbulent recent past. So 200 years, 100 years ago, because of the colonization, the turbulent recent past, and a dynamic present. Now the people have started rediscussing and started developing this sector, and Waqf has a promising future, very promising future, because the increase in the awareness of the people now, slowly, gradually, but it is increasing. So the modern Awqaf is in the process of re-evolution in many Muslim countries. Now re-evolving, stakeholders of Awqaf need to develop work-based development plan, and Maqasid themes should be incorporated while actually dictating the objectives of Awqaf and awareness. We need to raise awareness through different seminars, programs, and different means and mechanism. Active participation of local ulama is very critical, because ulama, they have a long loyalty from the masses, and there are huge fan clubs actually. So now once ulama, they start raising awareness on this prophetic sunnah, prophetic hadith, prophetic institution, that what is a waqf, how it has been very important for the development of the ummah as a whole in the early Islamic history, and what we can do. So this awareness in the masses will create some very positive impact in the awqaf sector. So finally, now based on the presentation, it is up to us to decide what will be our role in this whole actually process, whether we are going to be going to have an active role in development, revival, and establishment of awqaf, or a passive role, being indifferent, not being very much affected by what is happening. So this is end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Now, there are questions, then we may discuss. Thank you very much. Jazakallahu khairan. Akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, brother Dr. Abdullah. Thank you very much. Great discussion, nice ideas, and showing us the way. As you very rightly said, they had a very tremendous past, turbulent, turbulent past. Yeah. Can you repeat what did you say? Can you kindly? I was not able to catch everything.
Okay, okay. Actually, this is a sentence that I have written in one of my recent paper, which is already published. The institution of Waqf has a glorious history, a turbulent
Mhm.
recent past, a dynamic present, and a promising future. So this is actually from my paper, which was published as the responsible Waqf, real economy and the social responsibility. So I have already
Correct.
published almost 15 research papers and chapters. If people, those who may be interested, they may contact. So we can just provide them the paper if they don't have.
Correct. Okay. So yeah, so this is like what I am trying to also reflect here as well, that Waqf had a great, tremendous history, and we can have a tremendous future as well. So we are standing at the bridge to from our present situation to the future, and future need to be bright, and future need to be, and using the Waqf, like I was looking at different strategic objectives that as you very rightly suggested, that the West utilized the idea, while we abandon the idea of Waqf, West utilized that, and several institutions, leading institutions were developed there based on the concept of Waqf. And if I look at the strategic objectives set by the 17 goals for United Nations, uh, all of them can be like use can Waqf can be a vehicle to achieve all of those goals. Like these goals are no poverty. Waqf is can be one of the main tools in poverty reduction, zero hunger. You already mentioned how Waqf was used in the past. Good health and
Zawla
well-being.
Sahab, sorry to interrupt you. I have already published paper on WACC SDGs and Maqasid al-Shariah. So I've already
MashaAllah.
discussed all these, how there are coherence in most of the goals between WACC objectives and most of the SDGs. So,
Correct.
and earlier I had already made a presentation at Al-Bukhari University, Malaysia on this, and World Bank.
MashaAllah. No, mashallah. No, I'm just repeating the same thing. Yeah, so just for the sake of our audience, like because most of them have not read your article, so mashallah, you have already covered. Yeah. So the other thing that was coming to my mind was Maqasid al-Sharia. So just to continue on the UN goals, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production. MashaAllah. So any of this vehicle of Waqf, which was introduced by Islam, and is, and as per the Maqasid of Sharia as well, these can be used for any of these purposes, and effectively. And unfortunate, as you very rightly said, that unfortunate that this effective tool is not much in utilization these days, and we need to encourage and we need to push for increasing the awareness about it and drawing attention towards it. And this webinar today is also an effort in this direction, so that we can attract people's attention, inshallah. uh, there are like few questions. I will ask few questions, and then what there is one question from brother Idrus Muhammad Sahtis. Is asking what are the different between Waquf Sakuk and Waquf of
Waqf
Sakuk.
sukuk.
Yeah,
Okay,
oh
so
sorry. Yeah,
okay, should I just answer this or?
yeah, you can
Okay,
you can.
waqf of sukuk is very clear that you purchase a sukuk and you made waqf. It means that the proceeds that are going to be received as a sukuk holder will be diverted to charitable causes. This is waqf of sukuk, that you purchase the sukuk and you made its revenues to be a waqf. Then Waqf Sukuk means actually this is a concept that is being developed that for the development of awqaf, if there is a need for issuance of new sukuk, that there are already awqaf properties which need development, and there are lack of insufficiency of the resources to develop, then you issue a sukuk. So this is waqf sukuk. But I'm not sure whether this has been realized anywhere, but this is in concept, and I have mentioned this actually in one of my published paper on how the waqf sukuk can be established.
Okay, brother, somebody asked earlier that
Mhm.
have you written any book yet or on Waqf?
On Waqf, actually, I have done some projects for different institutions which are published, and almost 13, 14 book chapters and the research papers, but still not a book, but getting the inspiration from this message, inshallah, maybe make dua, maybe inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Soon,
No, no, we look forward. We look forward. There
inshallah.
is one question from somebody is asking. Thank you for like. Is there a body like IUFI that is actively building best practices with respect to Awqaf?
In different jurisdictions there are, and in Indonesia now there are some institutions which are working on that, but this AOFI as well is very much active in developing the standards for work governance and other establishments.
Okay.
Uh,
There is one question is asking how can we apply work for social and development projects on long term in a local area?
I mean, because in the local area, based on the local laws and the framework of establishing a WAF, then maybe it will be easier to give an instruction advice if I can understand which area it is. And then, of course, see, one thing is very clear. Waqf is the one of the most flexible institutions of Islam. So you can use this institution the way you wish, provided there is no contradiction or violation of Sharia rules. So if it is for any purpose, any way, in any mechanism, any modes, you can use it. And this, based on this actually concept, the jurists have provided permission for temporary work for cash, all these things. Why? Because all these rules are derived based on analogy, ijtihad based. So based on ijtihad, you can do if it is helping the community in any way. So, but it's better to consult the local ulama, uh, particularly those who know about this.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. There is one question, brother Rahman Khan, I will take him later, but he wants to speak to you. He wants to ask you a question in person. So hold on, brother. I see your hand raised. Uh, there is one brother Bashir is asking, where can we get an access to the materials on Waqf? Any source that you can refer?
Actually, see, there are much literature available online free of cost. So if you go and search for Waqf, so many books, many papers, chapters, and many Islamic organizations, for example, Islamic Leaf UK, they have their own website. They've been working on Waqf, huge material. I mean, the material is very, very common these days. But the thing is that we need to just get into research
Implement.
and such.
Yeah, sure. Implementation is more important
Yeah.
than having the concept. That's correct. There is one question from brother Nizamuddin Sheikh. He's asking, like, can we develop the Malaysian pattern in a country like India?
We can, as an individual, we can actually create. First, we need to create awareness among the masses in India. I know that I'm from India, so I know that uh, I mean masses are completely unaware of what is a waqf and how it is functioning, and there is a mystery of minority affairs, which is, and there is central waqf board. The government is monitoring and supervising all these things. So we need to first see the legal framework and the regulatory framework, and then we see where are the gaps that we need to first fill. So of course, if the intention is to imitate the Malaysian model or some other model, then we need to first see the gaps, and once the gaps are clear, then if there is a need for example, change in some framework, a legal framework, then we need to campaign for this. And this is the way, and also raising the awareness of the masses. And I see one thing, one disconnect. The ulama who have actually great opportunity through their masajid and madaris and Juma khutbah. So I've never ever heard any khutbah about waqf. I've been working and studying this field and researching in this field for last 10 years. I've never seen any khutbah on waqf. What is waqf? How it is very important. So we need to create this link and awareness among the masses first. Then there will come the inspiration, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. There is one brother, Abdul Khalid. He has he's asking, like, did you mention the book? I don't think you mentioned the name of your book,
I,
right?
I mentioned two books actually from the classical Islamic literature, and these two books are actually in Arabic. So Ahkamul Awqaf by Imam Abu Bakr al-Khassab, 400 pages, very comprehensive book, and Ahkamul Waqf by Imam Hilal al-Rai. But these two books are in Arabic. I'm not sure whether there has been a translation of these two books. Maybe if these two books, if they have not been translated, maybe there is a scope for a new project where these books can be translated. This will help to understand the whole concept of inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, I'm like taking to, before we conclude, normally we take some live questions. So I'm opening the mic for Brother Rahman Khan. Brother Rahman, I have opened your mic. Can you open your mic and then speak, please? You are
Alaikum.
allowed to talk.
Assalamu alaikum. I am audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Assalamu
alaikum
alaikum.
salam wa rahmatullah. Yes, we can hear
Uh,
you.
it's a very good lecture by Brother Abdullah. I'm happy in the end he said he is from India. I am also from India, and I have been working in the field of work from last 35 years. I had the
MashaAllah.
I had the opportunity to head the Ministry of, I was a Minister for Minority Affairs in the UPA government. I introduced far-reaching legislations in November 2013 in the Waqf Act in India.
MashaAllah.
My question, Brother Abdullah, is you have given a eye view of the entire Waqf institution, how it emerges and all that. But everything is already, as in India, there are about more than 6 lakhs Waqf institutions, and we are not utilizing it. And the important issue before in India is because we have law, we have a central act enacted by the parliament, but it is the awareness, it is the most lack of interest in the community of the work properties. The misuse of the work properties is by the Muslim community itself. And we are not, there is no awareness. One is lack of awareness. Lack of awareness among the ulamas. It is their primary duty to protect the work property, as you rightly said, in Jummah khutbahs and then various other things. They have absolutely no interest whatsoever. So how we can create this interest? In fact, as far as the development concerned, where is the resources? Take for example India, you can't get resources from any other source because it is Sharia compliant resources. You need it. We don't have Sharia compliant need it. You see, brothers, somebody raised the question whether we can establish a Malaysian model. I tried to establish a Malaysian model, and when our government is there, I got the cabinet approval also, but the subsequent change of government was they were torpedoed it, so I could not proceed further. So we need not depend on the government. You said shukuk type, that is also a one-way thing. So when during my period, I have established a National Work Development Corporation to raise the resources, because resources is very important, because valuable work properties are there available in India. Particularly I can say other places, at least there it is Muslim government, they can take care of it. But in India, with 200 million Muslims, the most valuable properties for their upliftment, socio-economic, and is the work properties. So we have to ponder over it, how we can do it. It is now looks impossible, but I feel, having been in the field from last 30-35 years, what is, you have to raise the awareness. My primary this thing. This is not possible only through some lectures and all that. Field work is necessary. Brother Abdullah, if you suggest some more thing, in fact, we can take it up further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. Although perhaps we have not met, but I know you by name, mashallah, reading in the newspapers repeatedly about you while I was just conducting my research on Waqf. And of course, I mean, based on the Sajjad Committee report, I've seen that so many awqaf are being misused or disused or being encroached upon. And I'm from actually Ayodhya. So I know, and in Lucknow, I did 8 years course in Darul Uloom Wal Alimiyat course, and I've seen that even in Lucknow and around, there are so many awqaf properties are being left over, no interest is there. But as I already highlighted, that we may need to actually connect first with ulama, because ulama have a large influence, still large influence, and they have the podium, the scope to raise awareness through Jummah khutbah. So maybe if we select, make a list of the top madaris in India, and we go and we discuss with them, and we make a webinar among the ulama first, because they know that the fiqh of awqaf, the socio-economic aspect of awqaf is very much being ignored or being unknown to them. So I would just recommend that the stakeholders of awqaf from different angles, be it from those who are working the field, from those who have seen or who are from the judiciary or from the political background. If all these stakeholders come together and meet ulama and try to create the awareness, inshallah, we will see some positive impact, inshallah. So I know
I
that
think
India has huge properties. I mean, if it is being used in a proper manner, I think this will take care of the communities, at least upliftment process.
Yeah, I think maybe on some later stage, maybe we can do a webinar where beside Dr. Abdullah, you and maybe brother Rahman Khan or people like him who have actually worked on this area, we talk more, because today we talked about more about the conceptual aspect of it, right? That this is an opportunity, there is an opportunity. So maybe we can have another webinar sometime later where we talk more on the practical aspect of it, that how do we actually motivate, what should be an action plan, should be the key focus areas where attention need to be done, so that practically it can become something something practically usable. Some of brother is asking, brother Abdullah Khan is asking about the course. Yes, you need to wait for a while. Brother Abdullah is working on a course on Waqf, inshallah. Brother Abdullah will be doing, inshallah, 2-3 different courses with us, and inshallah, Waqf is also one of it. He is just trying to sort out some logistic issues. I hope and I pray, and you should join me in prayer that he should solve them soon, inshallah. Thank you. Now I'm opening the mic for your brother Abdul Khalid. Uh, I have allowed you. You can speak. You can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and then you can talk. Brother Abdul Khalid, can you hear me? Yeah. Please go ahead. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of
Wa
all,
alaikum assalam.
congratulate and for the excellent webinar, which covers all aspects and which clears the doubt about what Awqaf, the present, past, and the future. And I had a query. In fact, my son has raised the hand. In fact, I asked the question about two books, whether it can be translated or the translated version is available. So I think that question has been answered. I'm done. So, okay, fine. You have allowed me to speak. So, on behalf of the audiences, I thank you for giving an excellent opportunity to understand the Awqaf on this, which will, further we can take up from this point and further we can further study. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair.
So is our pleasure and honor. We feel honored that Brother Abdul Khalid, you and your son, both of you are attending this webinar. So this is very few webinars where members of a family, and this also shows the interest of your family in learning about Islam and Islamic finance. May Allah bless you and your family in abundance. Ameen. I'm Brother Nizamuddin Sheikh. I'm going to allow you to talk. You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa
In fact,
alaikum salam.
I wanted to pose the questions in continuation with Brother K. Rahman Khan. He raised some pertinent questions. But after Brother Zia assured that we are going to have, inshallah, a detailed webinar on this same subject, so I take back my question because there is no point in that. I would love to participate in that webinar. Thank you for providing that opportunity and a very extensive presentation by Brother Abdullah. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Jazakallah.
we will do in that webinar. We will invite Dr. Abdullah. We will invite some other colleagues, and we will invite. There is one other. I'm not sure whether he's listening to us today. If you can, Brother Bashir Juma, he has done some work on the governance part of Waqf. So if there is a charitable institution, he has written a book on the governance part. So how to create governance in, and that is in a charitable organization or in an organization like Waqf. Brother Abdul Raqib, I'm taking you, and you are the last person who is asking a question today. Inshallah, okay? Brother Abdul Raqib, you can speak, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is the first time that I'm hearing Muhammad Abdullah, Dr. Muhammad Abdullah. Congratulations, Mabruk. I have forwarded your message and for this webinar to so many contacts. I think Dr. Rahman Khan Saab is also one of them, my close mentor, and we work on several subjects. Alhamdulillah, there is a lot of awareness is coming among the Muslims now in India because government funding is not to be provided anymore. So what we have got ourselves, we have to go for that and then and make use of them. And I request Dr. Abdullah, if he happens to visit India, and then if he inform beforehand, we will see that the ulamas are being addressed to because he is the great scholar as well from Nadwatul Ulama. And Nadwa has got our what is called Muslim Personal Law Board President, Maulana Rabi Hasne Dadwi. And I'm also one of the a member of the Muslim Personal Law Board, and then I'm working about the zakat and then interest-free banking and creating awareness about Islamic finance. Even some of the ulama say that zakat collection is not, it has been ended during Caliph Usman. After Khalifa Usman, that zakat is not to be collected. It should be individual. And I got all the fatwas also. So it is going to be, but I am very sure because I come from the business community, I've been trying to talk to them also. And scholars like Dr. Abdullah, if comes to India, inshallah, we will create an awareness among the ulamas also, among the masses also. And the time is also very good now because we don't have other sources from the government or anything. So within the people itself, it can be organized. For example, every day in Bangalore alone, a city which is very close to my Chennai, every day 200 people are going to Umrah every day before COVID and all. So people don't know which is important, which is not important, what is the issue. So that has to be created. And this will come from the ulamas also and the people who are there at the helm of affairs. And I'm sure even the non-Muslims are understanding Islamic finance better than our Muslims. So I'm a great optimist. And then, inshallah, if people from this organization who are arranging this one, Mr. Zia and then Dr. Abdullah and all these things, it will be a great honor for us to introduce. And I am sure, inshallah, there is a great chance of in India, both from the Muslims and non-Muslims also. So I once again congratulate the organizers and Dr. Abdullah and wish him all the good life and also to guide and help us, advise us in the near future. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Brother Abdul Raqib. It was really, we feel honored to actually know people like you and all of you who have participated in this webinar. And like from Taif's side, we are ready and willing to contribute our small part of the effort that we can, whatever we can do. We are available anytime if we can be of any benefit or we can contribute to the subject. So we would be more than happy. And please feel free to guide, support, and remember us in your duas during for so that Allah make things easier for us and we continue to contribute towards this cause. I think with this, I would request, I see there are still people waiting to ask for questions. As I mentioned, we will inshallah be doing another webinar on this subject. And Brother Abdullah, inshallah, we will be doing a course as well with Brother Abdullah where on Waqf, on Islamic product development and few other subjects, inshallah, subject to his being able to sort out his the logistic issues. So we need to pray for making things, pray Allah that things become easier for him. Before I conclude, I would like to draw all of you's attention that Taif Digital Institute is a approved training examination registration center for IUFI. The benefit with us is that you don't need to visit our location. The forms are available online. So you can go to TAIF. Our website is www.taiflearning.com. Yeah, Ahsan, thank you very much. And you can go slash IUFI, AAOIFI, IUFI, taiflearning.com. Anything relating to IUFI, you can go there, and all the forms are available digitally. So you can click on any of these forms, and you can, if you are interested in registering for any of the IUFI courses, you can register from there online, irrespective of your location. And we have requested the IUFI as well that the places where there are no examination centers, IUFI, and we will be supporting IUFI in that whatever way we can. Will be we can do remote examinations. So people in Indonesia, people in New Zealand. I'm not sure if in India there is an examination center. Anybody interested from India or anywhere else where there is no examination center can register for the exam and can appear for the exam. I don't know, you have noted that for today, what we have done is that TAIF has prepared for preparatory classes for CEPA and CSA, the two examinations from IUFI. If you register through us for today, we have a discount offer from IUFI that you can get 50% discount on the IUFI fee. And from our side, you can get these two courses for free. So you don't need to pay the course fee. Promotional course fee that is there is $199. So you don't have to pay that. From that is our contribution. And from IUFI side, if you register through TAIF today, the IUFI fee applicable for CEPA or CSAA will be 50%. So those who are interested, you need not, this is not only for this attempt, this can be for any attempt. This can be for any attempt for this year. So you can use those forms and apply. With this, I thank you once again. Brother Abdullah, would you like to say a few words if you are still available? Few words before we conclude your concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, mashallah. I'm very much impressed by the interest shown by the participants in understanding this particular institution. And I would just suggest that, inshallah, we do more frequent webinars on different aspects of Waqf, not only on fiqh of Awqaf, on socioeconomic aspect, and we may do some case studies of some specific countries, how they implemented and how they are reviving the Waqf institution. So, inshallah, with the dua of all of you, inshallah, I'm very much happy to see the feedback and, mashallah, the questions. Alhamdulillah, it's been very good. Jazakumullah khair.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Somebody is asking me how to participate for exam from Sri Lanka. I have mentioned earlier, you can register online. Few friends have already registered. And the exam, if there is no examination center, you can be registered. You will have the exam online. So with this, I thank all of you for being present here. I special thanks to Dr. Abdullah for such a informative lecture. Thank you very much. With this, we come to the end of this session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This session is concluded. Thank you.